When you first step into the world of real estate investing, it feels like entering a city you've heard legendary stories about but never walked through yourself. The towering buildings represent opportunity, the dim alleyways whisper warnings, and somewhere in the distance lies the promise of passive income, financial independence, and generational wealth. Yet, beneath that promise sits a truth many beginners overlook. Real estate does not reward the impulsive, it rewards the educated. And books, quiet, patient, unassuming books, often become the first mentors guiding you through this labyrinth. The best books on real estate investing do not simply teach you how to buy a property, they teach you how to see a property differently. They teach you to read the story inside a building, to understand the psychology of tenants, the rhythm of markets, the anatomy of a deal. They teach you that every profitable investor is part strategist, part analyst, part storyteller, because real estate at its core is a game of understanding people as much as understanding numbers. And as you explore these books, you begin to realize that each one holds a different doorway, a different key to unlock a different part of the real estate landscape. Some of these books introduce you to the philosophy of wealth building through assets. Books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which, whether you agree with everything or not, opens your eyes to a truth too important to ignore. Assets quietly give, liabilities quietly take. Kiyosaki's message is not about tactics, it's about awakening. It teaches you to stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like an owner, someone who plants seeds in the form of properties that one day bear fruit in the form of cash flow. This mindset shift becomes the soil in which all future real estate knowledge grows. Then, on another shelf of this imaginary library, you find the books written by the tacticians, the ones who strip the mystery away and replace it with method. Brandon Turner's The Book on Rental Property Investing often stands tall here, not because it is the most glamorous, but because it is one of the most grounding. It offers a blueprint not of how to get rich overnight, but of how to build something real, something durable, something that stands even when markets wobble. Turner teaches you to run the numbers with sobriety, to analyze deals with calm discipline, to build systems that protect you from your own emotions. He reminds you that confidence is not born from luck, it is born from understanding. Beside him lies The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller, a book that refuses to let you think small. It pulls you gently but firmly into the mindset of those who built empires, not through brilliance, but through models, repeatable decisions, structured thinking, and a commitment to seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. Keller shows you that real estate is not a gamble, it is a strategy, and strategies are learned, practiced, refined. He teaches that every great investor begins with a single property, a single moment of courage, a single shift in belief about what is possible. But no bookshelf would be complete without the books that teach you the invisible side of real estate, the side that lives in negotiation, in emotion, in the subtle dance between buyer and seller. Books like Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, though not about real estate specifically, become essential because they teach you how deals are actually won, through understanding psychology, through empathy, through listening so deeply that people reveal what they truly want. Real estate negotiations are not battles, they are conversations. And the investor who knows how to navigate human nature often outperforms the investor who knows only spreadsheets. As you move along the shelf, you encounter the books that speak about risk not to scare you, but to prepare you. What every real estate investor needs to know about cash flow and 36 other key financial measures teaches you that numbers are not barriers, they are beacons. They show you where danger lies, where opportunity begins, where illusions hide. These books remind you that intuition may start a deal, but math must finish it. And when you internalize this, you stop guessing and start evaluating. You stop hoping and start measuring. You stop wishing and start building. Then there are the storytelling books, real estate memoirs written by people who learned their lessons the hard way. Books filled with market crashes, tenant nightmares, unexpected repairs, deals gone sideways. These stories are not meant to frighten you, but to ground you. They remind you that real estate is not a straight line upward. It dips, it shakes, it tests you. But those who stay steady, those who learn, adapt, and persist, emerge, not just wealthier, but wiser. Real estate is as much a test of temperament as it is a test of intelligence. And as you absorb lesson after lesson from these books, you begin to see something that the untrained eye misses. Real estate is not about houses or buildings or land. It is about time. The time you buy when you own appreciating assets. The time you free when passive income begins to cover your expenses. The time you win when your future becomes more secure because your properties quietly work for you even while you sleep. The best books make you understand that real estate is not merely a financial vehicle. It is a time machine, a way of borrowing stability from tomorrow and weaving it into your life today. But these books also challenge you. They ask you to examine your fears, to confront the part of you that hesitates at the idea of risk, to question the part of you that assumes others are braver, smarter, more capable. They whisper a truth that grows louder as you read. Most real estate investors are ordinary people who dared to begin before they felt ready. They made mistakes, corrected course, learned steadily. They became knowledgeable not through talent, but through pages read, conversations had, deals attempted, risks measured, not risks avoided. And this is why your real estate bookshelf becomes a kind of compass. Not one pointing north, but one pointing inward toward the parts of yourself that must grow for your wealth to grow. Patience, courage, objectivity, curiosity, discipline. Every book strengthens a different muscle. Every story widens your sense of possibility. Every insight nudges you closer to a future where you no longer see real estate as intimidating, but as an arena in which you belong. And slowly, something begins to happen inside you. The fear recedes, the clarity rises, the path unfolds. You begin to imagine your first property, or your next property, or the portfolio you will one day build, not through luck, but through learning, through choosing, through believing in your capacity to transform information into action, and action into assets, and assets into a life shaped deliberately rather than accidentally. A life where real estate becomes not just a strategy, but a quiet, steady partner walking with you toward a horizon filled with possibility. A horizon that stops feeling distant and starts feeling like a destination you are slowly, steadily moving toward. And as that horizon sharpens, something inside you begins to shift. You realize that the true value of reading real estate books is not simply learning how to buy property. It is learning how to see yourself as someone capable of building wealth through intention rather than accident. The fear that once sat heavy in your chest begins to lighten because you are no longer navigating this world blindly. You are walking with guides, authors, mentors, thinkers who have already made the mistakes so that you don't have to make them in the same way. As you continue deeper into this tour of real estate wisdom, you begin to understand that each book teaches a different form of courage. Some teach the courage to begin. Some teach the courage to persist when a deal falls apart or a tenant leaves unexpectedly. Some teach the courage to walk away from a property that looks appealing but fails the numbers test. And some teach the courage to think bigger, to imagine a future where you own not just a single property, but a portfolio that generates a level of stability your past self could barely fathom. Courage in real estate is not loud. It is patient. It is the willingness to keep learning while others quit, to keep analyzing while others guess, to keep building while others chase shortcuts. Books written by seasoned investors often reveal the subtle truth that real estate is a long game disguised as a short opportunity. Deals appear quickly, but wealth grows slowly. And this patience, the kind demanded by real estate, is something our modern world rarely teaches. But books do. They slow you down. They remind you that your first property isn't meant to change your life overnight. It's meant to change the way you operate in your life. It's meant to introduce you to systems, to vocabulary, to patterns. It's meant to build your confidence 1 month of cash flow at a time. It's meant to teach you that wealth is rarely built in leaps. It is built in layers. And perhaps one of the most powerful lessons you absorb from real estate books is that specialization matters. Some investors thrive in single-family homes, others in multifamily, others in commercial spaces, short-term rentals, mobile home parks, land development, or private lending. The beauty of reading widely is that you begin to recognize your own natural leanings. You gravitate towards certain strategies, certain markets, certain risk levels. Instead of copying what others do, you begin crafting a lane tailored to your temperament. This is one of the greatest gifts books offer. They help you find yourself in the investment world before you risk capital finding it the hard way. As you turn the imagined pages of this bookshelf, you also encounter the books that reveal the bones of a real estate empire, systems, processes, teams, long-term planning. These authors teach you that no investor scales alone. Property managers, contractors, realtors, lenders, inspectors, partners, real estate becomes a community long before it becomes a portfolio. And it is through these books that you begin to understand a deeper truth. The wealthiest investors don't collect properties. They collect systems. Systems that free their time, systems that reduce their stress, systems that ensure that their portfolio grows even when life pulls them elsewhere. But these books do more than teach tactics. They reshape your emotional landscape. They prepare you for the loneliness of investing when friends don't understand your choices. They prepare you for the patience required when deals fall through at the last moment. They prepare you for the discomfort of waiting for returns that unfold slowly rather than the instant gratification of consumption. They prepare you for moments when you question yourself, moments when fear whispers, "What if you're not cut out for this?" And it is in those moments that the voices of the books return the wisdom, reminding you that every successful investor once stood exactly where you stand now, uncertain, hopeful, overwhelmed, but willing to keep going. Then, almost without noticing, you begin thinking differently in everyday life. You start analyzing properties as you drive through neighborhoods. You notice the design of multi-unit buildings. You pay attention to for rent signs, to construction sites, to the hum of local economic activity. Real estate stops being background scenery and becomes a living textbook. And this shift, this awakening of attention, is the quiet beginning of mastery. Books are the spark, but awareness is the flame. As more books fill your shelf, your thinking deepens further. You start to recognize that real estate wealth is not only about appreciation or cash flow. It is about control. Control over your time. Control over your career. Control over your family's financial future. Control over the kind of life you design decades from now. Real estate becomes a form of self-respect, a way of telling your future self, "I will not leave you vulnerable." And that realization transforms every lesson from these books into something sacred, something weightier, something worth building slowly and deliberately. Somewhere along the journey, you also begin to understand another truth. The best real estate investors are not speculators, they are storytellers. They read the story of a neighborhood. They understand the story of a property. They anticipate the story of a market cycle. They listen to the story a seller is trying to communicate. And they write the story of their own financial destiny with each property they choose to add or choose not to add to their portfolio. Books teach you to see these stories before you live them, to interpret them before you commit to them, to shape them with a level of wisdom that uneducated investors rarely access. And so, as you continue through this imaginary bookshelf, you begin to feel a quiet but profound confidence emerging within you. The fear that once held you back now feels more like a signal than a stop sign, something to pay attention to, not something to obey. The uncertainty that once overwhelmed you now feels manageable because you have frameworks, models, lessons, cautionary tales, and strategic insight guiding you. You are no longer approaching real estate from the outside. You are stepping into it with intention, preparation, and a growing belief that wealth built slowly is wealth built securely. And in the quiet of that realization, you see what these books have truly given you. Not just knowledge, not just tactics, not just stories, but identity. The identity of someone who can build, someone who can plan, someone who can grow, someone who can weather cycles, someone who can create wealth that lasts beyond a single lifetime. You begin to understand that this bookshelf is not merely a collection of titles. It is the blueprint of a life rewritten, a future reshaped, a destiny reclaimed through learning, discipline, and the slow, steady courage to believe that real estate can be your partner, your protector, and your pathway toward a life where financial stability is not a dream, but a daily unfolding reality that strengthens you, sustains you, and accompanies you toward a horizon where wealth becomes not only achievable, but